Good morning, Sheila. How are you today?
Wayne, I am great. Your voice is like a cup of coffee to me in a good way.
Ah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I see. We have this little placard in our kitchen,
Okay.
and it's of a. The artwork is think of 1950s ish kinds of
Okay.
artwork. So Harry and Ozzy, we have Ozzy's face there, and, and it says, "Drink coffee, do stupid things faster with more energy."
There I am. You are describing me perfectly.
No, I don't think so. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs
Mm.
and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our interactions as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
and Sheila, this is episode number 90.
Number 90.
Woohoo! Yes,
Yeah.
and still going. And what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is to deduce. I have a couple of definitions here, and you have more definitions. And my first one is to arrive at a fact or conclusion by reasoning. Number two is determined by reasoning or deduction. And I have a clue about deduce and deduct in a minute.
Oh, okay.
And number three is to trace the course of. So let's hear your definitions first, and then I'll talk about deduce and deduct.
Okay. I have to answer or to reach an answer or decision by thinking carefully about the known facts, to reach an answer by thinking about a general truth and its
Mm,
relationship to a specific situation.
okay.
And my last one, I didn't have many, to form an opinion about something based on the information or evidence that is available.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well,
I got to tell you, can I can I
yes.
can I
Okay.
say this?
Oh, yeah.
As I started doing my research, particularly on that last one, to form an opinion about something based on the information or evidence that is available, I
Yeah.
thought of Inspector Clouseau. And
Ah, famous
and
detective.
and I started doing stuff like this: deduce, 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 deduce,
Good for
deduce.
you. Good for you. Personally, my obsession was Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. I had
um,
the Pink Panther going off in the back of my head. I don't know why.
yeah, no, I like that. I like that. That's a very cheerful background theme. So to
Okay.
carry about during your day. So I learned that deduce and deduct come from the same Latin root word, which I'm not going to say because I don't speak Latin.
Okay.
And several hundred years ago, allegedly, they were interchangeable. Well, the alleged part is today the definitions have changed, they've
Mm,
diverged. The noun form is the same for both, but the meaning differs according to its context. But I believe that even though the official definitions have changed, still in common usage, at least in American English, they are somewhat interchangeable.
okay.
Not by the dictionary, but by the way they're used.
But by the way they're
So,
used. Okay.
yes.
Much
Now,
like we have used or have changed the thought process on other verbs.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
before we go any further, do you have a trivia question for us?
I do have a
Okay,
trivia question.
good, 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 good.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
All right. So for all of you with deductive reasoning or
Mm,
deduce skills, can you tell me what country has the most pyramids? And I will tell you the answer at the end of our show. What country has the
okay,
most pyramids? Okay.
great.
It I can hear some gears turning and
Oh,
wheels
yeah.
turning and people go, "Oh, I know. Oh, that's easy." Okay, we'll
No, I
see.
didn't say that because I figure
Okay.
it's a trick question.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Hey, where did the deuce come from? Who asked who got this? Who pulled this out of the jar?
Why? Thank you for asking. My husband Fred was our inspiration for this word, and when I asked him why he chose this one, he said because I know that you two like to be challenged. And I said to myself, do we really like to be
I,
challenged?
I don't, yeah, do we? I don't know. That's a good
But
question.
okay, all right. So
So did you find it challenging?
I found it challenging to get a good quote that wasn't full of scientific or philosophical jargon.
Ah, okay.
So,
I did find it challenging.
okay.
because when you said, "Hey," one of our longtime listeners and a very, very close partner to you, your
Very
husband,
close.
when you said the word deduce, I thought deduce, and I paused for a long time
Mhm,
because
mhm.
I I don't. And you used a word as you were describing the Latin word for
Mhm,
deduce,
mhm.
and you said common language. I was
Right.
thinking, I don't normally use deduce.
Oh. Well, I'm gonna challenge you on that. You may not use it as a word, but you use the action of it a lot as I go through my research today. I thought of you a lot.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. And the second thing I thought of was when my son was in elementary school, early on,
Mhm.
we would always get feedback from his teachers, and they would say, he's got great de- deduction skills. Where did he
Mm.
learn that from?
Oh,
And I told them he learned it from playing board games with us.
yep,
And as I've read the literature over the years,
yep,
there's the experts are saying board gaming is great for deductive reasoning skills,
yep.
for analytical skills, for staving off or slowing down the
Mhm.
process of
Dementia,
Alzheimer's or
yep,
dementia. Yes.
yep,
And I
yep.
thought, wow, well, I'm going to play board games until, forever.
See, and that's the thing I was gonna point out about you using this regularly as a skill set, even if you don't use the word for it,
Okay.
because 'cause you're a big gamer.
I, I'm a big gamer. I don't do very well, but I'm a big gamer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
You still are challenging the brain in a way that and I in fact, I think you do it very well, but you're still working on those brain health skill sets.
Well, you're too kind. You're too kind. As I started my research, I fell back to a podcast that we had a long time ago
Okay.
because I ran across an article, and I think I quoted her in that article when we did our podcast. I'm not sure what the verb was, but I ran across an article written by Dr. Ava Krakow talking about how many decisions do we make every day.
Oh, right.
Remember? And we
Yeah,
said it was a large number, and she says that the sources say we make about 35,000 decisions
I believe
every
it.
day.
Yep.
And I remember that number. And then there were some articles under that going, how did you guys come up with that 35,000? And is
Mhm.
it really true? And because that's about 2,000, if we sleep 7 hours a day, that's about 2,000 decisions every day. I mean, every hour. So how do you, is that true? And I don't know. But I found that I said, hey, here it is again. I
There we
don't know.
go. Yep.
Sheila, where can our listeners find you?
Well, thank you for asking, Wayne. Zeke and Sheila at yahoo.com is my email address.
And my email address is wayne@mindsyncing.com. That's MINDSYNCING.com. Wayne@mindsyncing.com. My
Super.
website? Super. Thank you. My website is mindsyncing.com.
All
Yes.
right.
Anyway, and again, all complaints come to me and all good things go to Sheila's address.
And we share. We do share.
We do share. Yes. All right. So, Sheila, where did your research take you?
Well, first, after I will later talk about the scientific method. I will later talk about why we want to improve our deduction and deducing skills. But first, I'm going to talk about popular games that have just taken over the internet and
Mm.
Facebook. And one of those is Wordle, which
Aha.
is, according to Hartford Healthcare Memory Center, just as you said, it's a great stimulation activity that protects from the brain function and helps prevent dementia. But also, this really got popular during the pandemic shut-in time, and it was advertised as being great for burnt out pandemic shut-ins.
Okay.
So I don't personally play it, but I know a lot of people who do, and then they make it harder for themselves. It was initially not supposed to be as hard as people are making it. People add their own rules to it, which is fun.
Oh, okay.
And then the second game was Sudoku, which is my personal
Ah,
favorite, also known as mathematics' most famous game.
okay.
And it has transcended borders and cultures. It was first initiated in this format in Japan in the late 20th century.
Really?
Yes, fosters critical thinking skills, enhances, encourages a methodological approach to problem solving, requires the application of deductive thinking, pattern recognition, reasoning, identifying and eliminating possible solutions. So, excellent skill set to grow and encourage.
Excellent. And I do play Sudoku.
Okay.
I don't do Wordle.
Okay.
And I'm going to say during the pandemic, because
Hmm.
you're absolutely right. That's when I really was introduced to Wordle.
Okay.
I kept getting all of these hits from people that I know,
Hmm.
and they're posting their Wordle scores and their
Right.
Wordle challenges, and they're
Yes.
asking for something. And I'm and the first couple that I saw, I go, Wordle, what is this? And I'm
Right.
thinking, is this spam? So I would hit delete, delete, delete.
And then it kept coming and
And then
coming.
it kept coming, and it kept coming from people that I knew. So I called one of them on the phone. I said, what are you sending me this stuff, this thing, Wordle thing? What is that? And they go, oh, you don't know what that is? I go, no, I don't know what that is. And they go, oh, it's this, it's this. And so what? And it's so fun, it's so challenging, it's so good. And I'm thinking, okay, I know nothing about it. And I still haven't checked it out, but everybody, as you said, everyone is enjoying it,
Hmm.
and good for them. And
Good
they're
for them.
posting, "Hey, I got a high score in Wordle." I'm like, "Okay, what's a high score? What's how what's the highest score you can get?" I still don't know. and and now I know we're going to get a lot of people hitting us with our emails going, "You guys don't know Wordle? Oh my goodness. Did you crawl out from underneath of a rock?" Yes, I
Right.
did.
Can I deduce from your description there that
Ooh.
there's a part of you that's a little bit resistant to getting into Wordle?
Um yes, because it just doesn't interest me.
Okay.
I I've talked to many people about it, and
Just doesn't ring your
I have
bell.
I have deduced that with all okay, going from the general, which is theory, to the specific, which is, all right, specific. We're pinpointing, and the general, they haven't grabbed me, and
Okay.
I just said, not doing it. So my
Okay.
deductive reasoning there was, not of my interest, my ilk. I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
So there we go.
Okay.
And I read an article, Deductive Reasoning versus Inductive Reasoning,
Okay.
and it's by Alina Bradford and Mindy Weisenberger. And I'm going to talk only about the deductive side, because inductive is probably another podcast for another day.
It's not our
So
word today.
it's not our word today. So I will certainly speak to what they said in the article about deductive reasoning and
Okay.
go from there. All right.
Yep.
So, all right. I'm sure you have a quote. I love your quotes. Do you have any quotes for us
Oh,
today?
I do. Yes. Louise J. Kaplan, I think she was a social worker, said it didn't take elaborate experiments to deduce that an infant would die from lack of food, but it took centuries to figure out that infants can and do perish from want of love.
Oh,
So, love your
hmm,
babies. Love the babies.
absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Doris Lessing said, you have to to deduce a person's real feelings about a thing by a smile she does not know is on her face, by the way bitterness tightens the muscle at a mouth's corner, or the way air is allowed to flow from the lungs. So
Mm.
what that says to me too is that observational skills are a big part of being able to deduce conclusions.
You know what?
Hmm.
I did that exercise yesterday
Okay.
that you just mentioned,
Okay.
and it is. I didn't say deduced, but I did say the person. Let me give you the exercise first.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Can I do
Yes.
this? All
Yes.
right. I'm going to ask you to put a smile on your face. All
Okay.
right. Are you
Yep.
smiling?
I am.
Now tell me good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Now put a frown on your face
Got it.
and tell me good morning.
Good morning. I like it.
What I suggested to the group I was working with yesterday, I said, when you pick up that phone,
Hmm.
because you're at work and you're in the let's say you're customer service,
Oh, yeah.
put that smile on your face and
Makes
say
it,
good
yep.
morning, because the other person on the other phone has already decided or deduced. I didn't say those words. I said
Mm-hmm.
they have already interpolated your tone and the way it came across, that, oh, this is not going to be a good phone call, or I'm starting with somebody who's friendly and open and ready to hear what I have
Mm-hmm.
to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said that yesterday. It was very cool. I'm
You
excited.
are just, I will tell you, when we research a word, spend the whole week thinking about it and listening for it in regular conversation. So it's just on your mind. And now these examples are popping up because it's something you've been mulling over and reviewing. Good job.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, and thanks to your husband for the word. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
We
I
weren't
love
thanking him at the beginning of the week, but we're thanking him now.
I love that we do what we do, because it makes me, as you said, hit research, do some research,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
a week at a time, and I'm learning new things.
I am too.
And that's why I'm different today with Deduce, because I didn't know much about Deduce other than, okay, is that decisions? Is are
Oh.
my deductions decisions? Are they, is it inductive or is it deductive? And so I said, I don't really know. And so I said, let me read these articles. And so Alina and Mindy say, so what's the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning?
Okay.
Again, I would just do the deductive part. They say during the scientific process, deductive reasoning is used to reach a logical and true conclusion. People often confuse deductive reasoning
Mm-hmm.
with inductive reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say, ooh, I need to do some more research here, because I don't know if I'm doing that. Deductive reasoning, also known as deduction, is a basic form of reasoning. It starts out with a general statement or hypothesis and examines the possibilities to reach a specific logical conclusion. And I said, okay. And they got that from Norman Hare, who is a
Mm-hmm.
professor of education at the California State University of Northridge. And they went into other things, and they have some examples here of what is deductive reasoning and how we can put that into play. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. And
Mm-hmm.
can I do one more?
Please.
All right. They said, now, this one's going to be a little bit theory based, and people are going to hear it
Okay.
and go, oh, this is boring. And I said the same thing. But
Okay.
then I have some examples that come up after this,
Oh, good.
that make it more palatable, if you will. So,
Please do.
so here's the one that's not so exciting. In deductive reasoning, there is a first premise, then a second premise, and finally an inference, a conclusion, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
based on reasoning of evidence. A common form of deductive reasoning is the syllogism, in which two statements, a major premise and a minor premise, together reach a logical conclusion. For example, the major premise, every A is B, could be followed by the minor premise, this C is an A. So what does that mean? Those statements would lead to the conclusion that C is B. And I
Right.
understood that, because
Oh,
if every A is B and C is A,
gotcha.
then C is B,
Gotcha.
because A is B, right?
Yes.
And here's the one, and okay, I got it. And I said, just prior to starting opening my mouth here, I said, some people go, okay, here's a better example.
Okay.
All spiders have 8 legs. A tarantula is a spider. Therefore, a tarantula has how many legs?
8.
8. Absolutely. There you go.
I found an example of where people make the deduction and it's incorrect.
Ah.
So, the road is wet. It is raining. Therefore, it is raining on the road to make it wet. But it could be that a street cleaner made the road wet, or
Okay.
someone watering their flowers
Yes.
or their lawn.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So that's where you can go wrong using that technique.
And I have one of those too,
Oh, good. Okay.
where the first premise is incorrect.
Okay.
It says deductive conclusions are reliable provided the premises are true.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
it.
According to Hare, that professor, H and it's spelled Herr, it says the argument all bald men are grandfathers. Harold is bald. Therefore, Harold is a grandfather. Is valid logically, but it is untrue because the original premise
Right.
is false. Yes,
Right.
same thing.
Right.
Isn't this cool?
You know what? It is fun. It is fun. And I found an article that had two different titles. Number one is How Can I Deduce Like Sherlock Holmes?
Uh-huh.
Because so for those of you who don't know him, he was a fictional character, a detective, and he is the most played character in history in plays, movies, and TV shows, played by some 200 actors, and that, of course, is Sherlock Holmes. So the other name for this article, How Can I Deduce Like Sherlock Holmes, is How to Think Like an Executive, because in fact,
Oh.
those are executive thinking skills as well.
Ah,
So
really?
there are 6 steps. Pay attention to the details. Use your power of observation. Number 2, use all your senses. Don't just look at what you see, but what you smell, hear, maybe even taste, depending on the circumstances. Number 3, active listening when a person is talking. Focus very closely on that person. Give all your attention to that person. Number 4, take a walk to get new ideas. Dr.
Mm.
Wayne Applewhite has often talked about that as an executive function skill, executive skill.
Who is that guy?
I know. Number 5, say it out loud to a friend as you're walking through the thoughts. To me, my dog hears everything and is very good at giving feedback
Okay.
or not. And number 6, find quiet so you can absorb and reflect and conclude.
Okay.
So, how to think like an executive or how to deduce like Sherlock Holmes.
And I like what you said about bringing Zeke into the picture, your dog,
Yes.
because he discerns things. However, and you said by listening, by observing, those kinds of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have friends who have taught me that when their dog barks a certain way, they know exactly what it is
Yeah. Yeah.
because they have made some deductions over time and said,
Hmm.
oh, every time he does this, this is going to happen.
Yep. Yep.
And they say, oh, when he yelps like that, we know it's somebody that we know because
Oh.
he's excited and the yelp is the excitement in his bark.
Oh.
And they're saying, oh, okay, that's one of our friends coming to the door. And
Oh.
before the doorbell rings, he's yelping and doing those kinds of things. So the dog has deduced already who's
Hmm.
coming. And they, in turn, listening to their
Yep.
dog and observing
Yep.
his yelps and barks, they know exactly who's coming to the door too. I
Just another way to use deduce in your daily life.
absolutely, absolutely. I and it's strange you say that because I have another article here,
Good.
and this is from the Indeed website, and there and it's the Indeed. What is it? It's called the Indeed. They didn't give. Oh, they called it the Indeed editorial team. They didn't give
Oh,
names, but they said here's some tips for improving deductive reasoning skills.
good.
First one: be curious.
Yes.
And I think that's what Inspector Clouseau was kind of famous for, was
Yep.
just being curious, right?
Yes. Yes.
Be observational, which you have already articulated.
Sherlock Holmes's big skill.
Yep. Increase your knowledge. Ooh, continue to learn.
Okay.
And then break problems into smaller pieces.
Oh.
And I thought, I do that all the time. At least I attempt to,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're building projects, and I taught project management for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done a lot of projects, and we always want to break it down to the lowest work, um what do they call it? A work
Lo-
project,
okay.
a work piece.
Okay.
And that's not the right name, but you want to bring it
Okay.
down to that one work piece
Okay.
before you build it off into this. Let's say we're building a Ferris wheel. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
let's start with how many seats we're going to have on the Ferris wheel. So and you build the seats to make and you get the balance and all this good stuff, and you
Mm.
put all the quantum physics and all, I have no idea what
Mhm.
I'm talking about, but you put all this stuff in
Sounds
there,
good to me.
and okay, this Ferris wheel can hold 32 chairs effectively with this weight differentiation, and just break it down smaller,
Mhm.
just bring it to scale to help you so that it's not such a big bite to chew off the first time.
Cool.
I like that.
Cool.
The 5,000 piece puzzles, I'm going to start with a 100
Yeah.
piece.
Okay.
Uh,
Quick
yes.
question. Do you do the edge first or the center first in a
I
puzzle?
I look at the picture first.
Okay.
And now if it's just a picture of a blue background, okay, I'm toast, but
Okay. Okay.
but I look at the picture first and I try to find identifying objects. And so I
Yep.
kind of put them together, and then by that time, someone else has already done the outer edge, if you will,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because I know most people flock to that. I tend to not do that. I tend to go in the middle. I tend to, oh, look, there's an eye right there. I can see. Oh, wait, there's my piece I'm looking for right here. Yes,
Yeah.
so I do that first, and because I know if somebody else wants to do the edge, so I let them have their fun, do their edge.
Good.
How about you? Are you an edge or are you not an
It
edge?
depends. When I'm trying to make it more difficult for myself, I don't do the edge first. I'll do middle patterns and then try to link the patterns with each other.
Ah, okay.
Just
And over
similarly with Sudoku, I'm not gonna, you know, you can tag a little corner spot to put in what you think is supposed to be in that, but I'm not going to do that until I have 3 or less options.
I see.
So,
Okay.
just to make it a little harder.
And I'm looking at the big picture
Okay.
here,
All
and
right.
it says 2630.
Okay. Let me just mention one website. If you're
Please.
looking at increasing your skill set at deducing, increasing your challenging yourself, the Lenworth Ryan Wilmot has a site called thescienceofdeduction.org, and he's all about helping you learn how to do that better.
Okay. And here's the question, trivia
Okay.
question. What country has the most pyramids? And the answer is Sudan.
I knew it wasn't going to be Egypt because Egypt was my first thought.
Right?
So
That's
thank
everybody's
you,
first
Wayne.
thought. It was
Yeah.
mine too. They said
Okay.
Sudan has about 220
Wow.
to
Okay.
250, where Egypt was somewhere in the realm of 115 to
Wow.
a little bit more. Yes,
That's a big
so
difference. Okay.
it was.
Wayne, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for people who are listening and helping us by supporting our podcast on whatever method you use to hear it. We appreciate you and keep coming back.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks, Fred, for the word.
Yes.
And thank you, Sheila.
And thank you, Wayne.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.